So, the brand leader theme is an interesting one. Like some of the others, it's not really a standalone theme. Like it's not really the only theme you can do. Definitely helps to have some other areas of strength so that you can actually get the word out beyond branding. But that said, it is absolutely, if you take it seriously and meaningfully, it is one of the most important areas that you can build on in your business. It's also something that affects literally every other bit of marketing you do. So definitely doing a great job on it is just critical. Let's jump into the presentation. So looking at the marketing theme of being a brand leader, one thing that's really important is that building your brand goes into everything you do in your company, every single interaction or exposure to your company that your customers have. That said, we're not going to get super deep into that, and we're going to talk a little bit more just around the imaging. The reason for that is I'm just probably not the person to take you deep into the world of branding, and also as we work mostly with smaller service companies, where you're going to be at is probably it's probably as simple as just make sure every interaction with your customers is friendly, helpful, and professional, and follow that rule and you'll be good. And then the goal is to try and make sure that that's also accomplished in the online setting. And to be honest, even a lot of large companies don't do a great job at this. So just really, we're going to focus on image, remembering that you do need to put in great brand practices beyond that, which mostly are based on common sense. So with that said, let's jump right in. And brand leaders in a market or an industry are really meticulous in setting their image, and really what they want to do is look like the most professional company in the market. And in doing this, they appear as the most professional organization of their type, which gives them trust and credibility when somebody sees their site after looking at three competitors' crappy sites when they're picking a service, especially with sort of high value services. I think like legal and accounting and the professional services, also any of the wellness and medical services. My gosh, if you don't look professional and if your site doesn't look awesome, you're going to cause a shadow of a doubt there. So definitely there's huge value in being professional, and even more value in being the most professional and the best in terms of branding and image. When you look really professional and buttoned down, you kind of set an expectation that people are going to pay a premium price. And the funny thing is that in general, they'll be ready to pay that. And I don't mean that you can charge an obnoxious amount, but what I absolutely have 100% learned is that the level of professionalism that people feel that you have based on what they basically subliminally have happen, as I mentioned in the next bullet, in a fraction of a second, in that situation, their expectations of where you're going to be and their satisfaction with your level of pricing and performance is totally at play there. And also the huge thing about brand and your image as well, image and brand, is that it basically can improve the performance of all your activities. So jumping right along, some essentials around it. First off, you need to know your clients really well. So you need to know what they'll respond to, kind of what's important to them, what sort of tone to set. It's kind of as even things like, me presenting in a t-shirt in a fairly relaxed manner. I know that, on a funny note, I know that most of our clients are now younger than I am, which, being a lifelong entrepreneur, that wasn't always the case. But so that said, I'm actually probably more at risk of being seen as too serious than being seen as kind of approachable and fun. And so, yeah, so it's kind of choosing what's going to be right for your client. So if you were a dentist and doing informational videos, showing up in a Hawaiian shirt probably wouldn't be the right thing. Conversely, if you're renting sports gear being dressed in business attire is probably not the right thing. And that's just, again, where you need to know your clients and basically take those same principles and apply them to your website and your marketing. Having the right outfit for your marketing that will resonate with the audience. Personas are an interesting area where you basically define your clients and sometimes take it so far as to create a different imaginary person about your different client types. You can probably see me kind of smiling / grimacing a little bit when I talk about that, simply because I've been in a ton of persona exercises that were near total wastes of time. That said, there is some value to it if you do it well, and at minimum, with the personas, at minimum with your, you need to understand your different client types and what resonates with them. Also, at minimum, you need to identify what the baseline for branding is in your industry. What are the sort of minimum acceptable standards of professionalism? So again, for instance, if you're in the legal industry and you're going to be doing wills or working on somebody's estate or writing contracts, for instance, having typos is not acceptable ever, or bad grammar or things that like that just is a sign that you're sloppy and that you might mess up somebody's contract, which and the same goes with lots of different industries. And again, the example I gave before, like maybe you're renting sports equipment, the standard of, say, written professionalism is less than in a professional services industry, but maybe your work on beautiful graphics and creative is maybe even more important. Again, totally depends on the business and industry on that front. You want to make sure all of your company's activities are on brand and that they support your overall efforts. Just don't do things that look or feel or are dramatically different than what you've identified as how you should present yourself. And you should really, I'll start with the last one first, is you got to be meticulous and careful and understand that this is important. Kind of doing it half-assed, just not a good way to go. And to the other point, you need to understand that this is a somewhat subjective area, like different people think different things look better, but there is a science behind it, and that's where it really helps to often get some professional help in this area. And I'll share, I'm not a branding expert. I've been really guilty of not doing a great job of it in some of our companies, even in situations where we're like the leading professionals in what we've been doing, like in a bunch of cases with our main agency Plus ROI online marketing. We're top 3% in the country as a Google partner, as determined by Google, top 3% of all the agencies in the country according to them, but our website is not perfect. Our branding is not perfect. Trying to do a better job of it with this What Works website and platform and brand. So I'd love to hear what you think about it in that case, but we actually have recruited professional help. Thanks, Alethea. And so anyhow, the two things that I absolutely know firsthand, having studied it, just not being very good at it myself, is that there is a science behind it, and also that I've personally, and we as a company, have lost money by not being better at it in the past. So definitely that is a true story, and so you absolutely want to build a nice brand. And again, like I was saying, you don't have to spend $10,000 on a professional designer who's going to spend a couple weeks working on it. But even just having your key elements like your logo and your homepage design, having support from those things, maybe your first set of ads, having support from those things, and then kind of running with that imagery that's been developed. I'd say that's kind of a practical minimum if you can afford some professional help. But actually, to be honest, if you're spending money on marketing, you kind of can't afford not to have at least some professional help around the branding area. So in terms of looking at complementary themes, well, first off, it's complementary to everything, like I said before. It's interesting too, we've seen it definitely before, that the better known and recognized your brand is, the higher the performance you'll have in the search engines. more people who see, a higher percentage of people who see you come up in a search engine will click on, whether it's your organic search engine result or a search engine ad, more people will click on it if they recognize your name. So definitely some value there. And yeah, looking at it as well, so advertising, hugely complementary to brand. Again, getting the word out. Both I talked a bit about search there, but also in terms of branded display ads, thought leadership, community leadership. Again, just about everything is complementary to branding, but those are a couple areas where it really helps, and where, yeah, in our case, particularly with the thought leadership, I'm keen to see what better branding does for our experience with this new What Works marketing and the What Works Academy. And I'm planning on sharing some of the lessons we learn along the way there. So watch out for future information in this area, and hope to see you on our next lesson. Thank you.